again. How are you doing? Yeah, it's better right now. So, how are you?
Yeah, good. I'm having a pretty nice day so far. I've just been talking to people on Cambly, helping people with English. Yeah. What
That's
about you?
awesome. I've been really great. I before calling you, I was studying a little bit of English. I was reading a couple of conversations in English, to learn new words.
Hmm.
And I have here some dialogues. Can I read those to you? And
Yeah.
1 minute, please. Let me see here.
Did you have questions about some of them?
Yeah, so sometimes when I read, a couple of dialogues, sometimes there are certain words that I don't understand. So,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm going to read one of them, and if I have a question, I ask you about it, okay? Please.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, I'm going to read it, and if I mispronounce a word, you can correct me, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Please. So, okay, the dialogue is, Hello, Richard. Hi, Karen. How have you been? Not too good. Why? I'm sick. Sorry to hear that. It's okay. It's not serious. That's good. How's your wife? She's good. Is she in America now? No, she's not here yet. Where is she? She's in Canada with our kids. I see. I have to go now. Please tell your wife I said hi. Okay, I'll talk to you later. I hope you feel better. Thanks.
Okay. Your pronunciation was really clear on that. Um,
Thank you.
the only thing was when you said wife, it's a hard sound at the end, but it's a f at the end.
Wife.
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 Yeah,
Wife.
perfect. Yeah, you
Ah, I
really got to
see.
hit the F at the end. But
A
other than
wife.
that, everything was really clear.
Oh, thank you. And I'd like to ask you, for example, okay, so Karen asked, how have you been? So I've heard that there is another way of saying that sometimes people say, what have you been up to? Are those
Yeah.
the same or they
Um,
have differences?
yeah. Well, I would say in uh in what they mean it's a little different. If I say, "How have you been?" I'm asking more about your emotions. I'm asking it's something I would ask a friend that I feel closer to. Um,
Yeah.
like what have you been up to just means what have you been doing? How have you been spending your time? And I think it's more
Mm,
casual. Like if I don't know someone and I run into them at a coffee shop or something, I'm like,
yeah.
it's one of those people that you see that's one of your friends, but not like one of your close friends.
Yeah.
But you still know them. You're like, hello. And you might say, what have you been up to? And you're asking them just what have you been doing, and they'll say, oh, I've been working, or I've been doing this, or what they've been doing. And then maybe when you see your really good friend, you might ask them what they've been up to, but after a while you can ask them, how have you been? Like, have you been healthy? Have you been happy? Have you been like, how have
Um,
you been feeling? How has your, have things been
um,
good or bad? And
so
then
I see. So
what
how
have
have
you been
been?
up to is what did you do? Yeah.
I see. I think so. How have been is more about feelings. I'm asking you
Yeah.
if you are good or bad, right?
Yeah.
I see. And what have you been up to? So what you have been doing, for example. So
Yeah.
how would you answer? What have you been up to?
I would say
Please.
I've just been working on I've been teaching on Cambly, seeing some of my friends and working on a lot of creative projects.
I see. That's good. And what about? Oh, how have you been?
Then I would say I've been good. Things have been going well for me recently and I've been feeling pretty happy.
Ah, I get it now. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks so much. Let me read to you another dialogue, please. I'm using my cell phone right now because my laptop is not good. So, because I would send you the conversation, it would be better.
Yeah,
So,
no worries.
okay, so let me read it to you. So, Robert, this is my friend, Mr. Smith. Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Mr. Smith, what do you do for work? I'm a doctor. Oh, where do you work? New York University Hospital in New York City. What do you do? I'm a teacher. What do you teach? I teach English. Where? At a high school in New Jersey. That's nice. How old are you? I'm 32. What about this one? Did I
Okay.
mispronounce?
Just two things I heard. Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith.
It's really hard. It's a hard combination
Mr.
of
Smith.
sounds.
Mr.
The first
Smith.
word. Mr.
Mr.
Yeah. And that R is a kind of a hard R. It's like Mr.
Mr. Smith. Mr.
Smith. Yeah, Smith.
That's right.
Yeah, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah. I think if I had to say that 10 times fast, I would start saying it wrong.
Yeah, so
Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith. That's hard.
Yeah, so how about, for example, Mr. It's when I talk to men, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we have three ones you can use. For any man, it's Mr. For a woman who is not married, it's Miss. But if you don't know, or if a woman is married, you can say Mrs.
Mrs. So
it's a good idea to usually just say Mrs. because then
I don't make mistakes.
It works
right?
for everybody.
Yeah, because if I don't know,
you don't make a mistake.
I won't make mistake.
Yeah.
Oh, so for example, if I meet a person and I don't know whether this person is married or not, or especially a girl, so I have to say Mrs.
Yeah.
That's good. That was my question. So, okay, Mr. for men and Miss, so single women, and what? And I was like, what do I have to say if I don't know it? So,
yeah.
Mrs.
I mean, yeah, to be honest with you, these are very I think Mrs. is kind of, I think Miss is kind of outdated. Like, not many people use that anymore. I think it's kind of, I would think that a lot of people don't really like you to use it anymore. It's kind of yeah. And Mr. and Mrs. are very formal. Yeah, you would only use those if you're talking to your teacher or I don't know, if you're in a big company or if you're in court or something. You're at I don't know, but I honestly can't remember the last time I ever called someone Mr. or Mrs. Seriously, maybe as a joke, but it's very, very formal, very proper.
I see. And when you want to refer to a person in a polite way, when you don't know the person, what do you usually say, please?
I would just use, you don't know their name?
Yeah, when I don't know their name.
Usually just pronouns. You can use him, her, or they. Um, or yeah, like, could you give me an example? Maybe if I had an example of the context.
Okay. So, for example, let's pretend we are, let me see, a receptionist.
Yeah.
So, for example, because I have heard about sir, right? Sir and lady.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can say sir, and you can say ma'am.
Ma'am. Ma'am, madam, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think madam is almost so formal, people don't use it anymore.
I see. So, sir and ma'am, is that right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, but that would just be like if you were, yeah, I would just use that if I only I would just use that like if I was working, you know, like you said, if I was working in a hotel and I had to say, "Excuse me, sir, could I get your credit card now?" Or "Excuse me, ma'am, may I have your credit card?" Like then I would use it. But I think in life, the only time I ever used, I think the last time I used sir, like I was in a grocery store and someone was like really, it's a weird story, but they were having some kind of mental problem, and they thought that I was like saying mean things to them when I hadn't even spoken to them. Like I hadn't spoken to them at all. He started yelling at me in the grocery store.
Oh my gosh.
So I just started calling him sir because I just wanted him to calm down. You know, I didn't want there to be any issue or anything.
Oh my God.
So then I was just trying to be like really, really polite and let him know that I did not have any problem with him, and I didn't like. But other than like those kind of situations, if you're working for somebody or if it's like you're really trying to be like, hey, I'm not, you know, really peaceful, really polite, then you could say, you know, okay, sir, I'm sorry if you're upset. I really did not want to upset you, sir. I don't remember talking to you actually. Like, then you could use it.
Oh, thank you.
But I think in my life, yeah, normally day to day, it's pretty rare.
It's pretty rare. I see. Thank you. And I said a word, and I don't know whether it's correct or not. For example, because there is, for example, when we are at a grocery store, for example, at the grocery store, there are cashiers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what about at a hotel? It's a front desk. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
we you could say receptionist.
Receptionist.
You could just say, or someone at the front desk is usually what we say more, but the way you use it is kind of tricky. So if you're talking about yourself, you could say, I work at the front desk. Or if you're saying, you could say, oh, I lost my key. Go talk to the person at the front desk.
I see. And so you said I work at the front desk. What do you mean by that?
If your job, if you work in the hotel and you work at the front desk,
okay.
you could say I work at the front desk.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Because there are so many words to say one thing in Portuguese, so yeah, I think we don't have so many varieties.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I could use.
You think there are kind of.
I could use only words, I think, and it would be great for all those situations.
Yeah, English is tricky.
Yeah, so receptionist, or I can say front desk.
Yeah.
And at the grocery store,
sometimes
cashier.
Cashier, yeah. Cashier is anyone who handles, you know, it's got cash in the title. It's anyone who handles cash. So, like, not just at the grocery store, like, for example, if you go to a store that sells electronics, the person at the electronics store who takes your money and gives you your change is also the cashier.
So I would say everybody who works at a store and in the part of a cash register, right?
Yeah, if you work on the cash register, you're a cashier.
Perfect.
Doesn't matter what the store is. Yeah.
Perfect. I get it.
Yeah.
I can't see my time here. How much time do we still have, please?
We have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Oh, that's okay. And
Yeah.
so I'd like to ask you my last question, please.
Yeah.
For example, what's the difference between raise, the verbs to raise and to rise, please?
Oh, so to rise mean that the thing is rising on its own.
On its own.
Yeah. So for example, the sea rises. We don't do anything. The sea rises on its own. The sun rises on its own. If you make bread, you leave the dough on the table, and then overnight the dough will rise by itself. Raise means that you or someone is active in making something else rise. So if you raise money, the money doesn't grow on its own. You have to work to raise money. If you raise children, the children aren't growing up on their own. You're also teaching them, providing for them. You're raising them. Yeah. You raise your hand. You're raising your own hand. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. And that's why a lot of people say, I was born and raised in Brazil. I was born and raised in the United States.
Right, exactly.
I see. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, because your parents did the raising. Yeah, I'm glad I could help.
Thank you.
Your English is very good.
Oh, thanks so much.
I think your pronunciation is excellent.
Oh, thanks so much. I've been working on my pronunciation and my vocabulary. And I like reading text like that because I can ask you a lot of questions and it increases my knowledge of English. That's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting for me too to have to, because there are so many things that I know, at first just because I know what sounds correct and what sounds incorrect. But then when students have questions for me, I have to kind of think for a sec for myself and go, okay, I know what the answer is, but how do I know that? Why is that the answer? So it makes me kind of take apart the language I already know and understand it a little more. It's a cool thing for my brain. I don't know if that makes sense, but good mental exercise, you know?
That's good. Thank you. How much time do we have, please?
40 seconds.
40 seconds, so we have to...
Yeah.
What is the word when we have to say goodbye? I think there is a...
Say goodbye. Yeah, that's right.
That's right, to say goodbye. Yeah. So thanks so much. It was a great class.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you, Richard. And if you like, I can send you my schedule in case you'd ever like to chat again.
Oh, please. I'd like to move on this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thanks so much. Have a good work, okay?
See you soon.
See you.
Bye.